Hi everyone, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to basically go a little bit more in depth on sketching. So last time when we went on to sketching, what we had a look at was what all of the different tools did up to this point. We're going to have a look at doing a little bit more in terms of dimensioning and what you can and can't do and that sort of thing. So, excuse me. Once you're sketching, so all we're going to do is hit R for a rectangle. And let's just start drawing. So once you start drawing, you're going to get these little dimension boxes that come up. There's two trains of thought for sketching in Fusion. One is dimensioning as you go along. So I can type in like 150, hit tab, and I'll move to the next one, 45, like that. That's the first way of doing it. The other way is to get a rough shape that you want and then dimension afterwards. So either way works completely fine. It is just down to personal preference. I prefer the second way because what I like to do is rough out the overall shape first and then start to add dimensions in as we're going. What is really useful is, so let me just put in some random numbers here. Say, I've put dimensions, but I know I want to have the same dimension up here. So what I can do, I can double click on that. And rather than just entering it in again, I can just click on this dimension and it's going to reference it and I can enter. So it's going to copy it. And when you see that FX, that means it's referencing a specific dimension. I can double click there, click on there, and again, hit that. Now, there are other ways of doing that. You can use things like the equal constraint, but I'm not going to cover constraints in this video because that's a whole video on its own. But it's really useful to be able to reference other measurements that you can do. So what I'm going to start doing is just sort of drawing out a simple sort of shape, not really focusing on any specific measurements at the minute, just coming along like that. So I've got a profile. So then what I would start to do is come in with my dimensions of what I want. So we've done distance and line so far. What I can then do, for example, is come and do angles. So say I want that to be 135, and it'll adjust accordingly. And that's going to, if you've got too many constraints, because obviously I put angles in there, it's going to say it's over constrained, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. It's just saying that you can't affect that because it's already too many measurements already on there. So then let's come across and say I want to do 30. Okay. Again, let's do dimensions here. Okay, and again, saying over constrained, which is fine. But then let's say I want there and there, and the distance, I want that to be 10. And then distance, again, say I want 12. And 12. I'm just sort of making this because I'm going along, by the way, just to sort of show you what's going on. And then let's say 6 like that. Okay, so I put all those dimensions in. So now if I move it around, nothing will change, but nothing is going to be constrained yet because I need to make sure, I'm just going to delete these sketches. But it needs to be fully constrained. At least at the minute, if I try and move anything, nothing's going to happen. So what I can do then is I can go to dimension and I can dimension from there. Oh, let's tell you what, let's do it this way first. Let's do there to there. And let's say I want it to be exactly in place. And that's same again. Let's do there. Okay. And what happened is you see it's gone completely black now because now what will happen is I can't move it around anywhere. Okay, so far we've just looked at adding dimensions as you're going along, referencing other geometry that you need later, and then adding in angles as well. So let's just finish that and let's just revolve. Profile, axis, U. Okay. So Say now, I know that this is one of my favorite little trick that Fusion will let you do is it will let you use equations. So let me just turn this body off first. So say you, okay, I'm going to do a really simple one first of all. Say you're not great at maths, okay, and you need to figure out, right, that measurement, I mean, it needs to be 100, it needs to be plus 30, 39. Okay, so you can put equations in there quite easily like that, and it doesn't matter, it can be 10 times 30. Okay, you can do all sorts, so you can put any sort of equation you can think of, you can subtract, you can minus, you can multiply, and it will calculate it for you. Okay, it's really, really useful. My favorite reason for this being so useful is you can use pi. So say, for example, with this body, say I need to wrap something around the surface of it, around the circumference of it, and I've got no idea what the size is. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm just going to come to inspect and measure. I'm just going to click this surface, and it's going to tell me the diameter of that is 280. So in my notes here, I'm going to type in 280 and hit post. All this is here, by the way, is like really useful, like post-it note sort of thing for you for later on for any key points. So I'm going to go to construct and tangent plane and create a sketch on this surface, and then create sketch. Now, the next useful thing for sketching is projection. So what I can do is P for project, and what that'll do is if I click, I can either go on specific entities, so like specific lines, or I can do whole bodies. I'm going to do all whole bodies in this instance and hit OK. Now, if I turn bodies off, you'll see it's got this purple line. That is this projected geometries on here. I can turn that off and on if I want to, but it's really useful because it means I can then snap my sketches onto something. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's do a rectangle. Let's come across like this and just hit enter. And then just for argument's sake, let's make it so this line and this line, so we're in the center. So what I've just used there is a constraint. I won't go into the constraints too much, but I've just used the midpoint, which is the triangle. So I've said this rectangle midpoint needs to be in line with the midpoint of this line here. The bit that really matters is I need to get this length right, circumference. So to figure out circumference, what you need to do is pi times diameter. So I've got the diameter there, which is 280. I want to times it by pi. So I'm going to type in pi capital letters and hit enter. So what that has done is figured out my circumference, and it is the most useful tool I've found in Fusion for doing particular sketching. It's fantastic. However, it's actually a little bit too perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss, and I say I'm going to emboss this profile on this surface. And it's going to say it's failed because it's intersecting, because it is going to overlap slightly because it meets basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this slightly. So let's do 280, let's do 279.9. So it's slightly off. Okay, and then I'm going to hit finish sketch. And then let's go to create and emboss. Click on that profile, click on that face, and I hit OK. And what you'll see then is that it has created emboss around the surface. Now, because I didn't make it meet up, because I did it pointing at 1 mil away, you can see that little bit of imperfection there. You could play around with it and make that as much smaller, but the reason why it failed the first instance was simply because it's going to wrap around and it was going to touch, and it doesn't like it when it touches, basically. So, but you can play around with the tolerance of that. I think actually in the grand scheme of what I'm doing here, just to show you, it would be fine. It doesn't really matter. I can, if I want to, go back in time, edit the sketch. I could make it so it's longer, like that. Finish sketch, and my emboss will get bigger. I can even go and edit this emboss and make it a deboss. So it now cuts into the surface a bit. I could play around with that some more. I could make it go in even more, so -6. Or let's play around again some more. Let's do out. So you can play around with it loads and loads, but the benefit being that you can always go back and change it. And with your sketching, the main reason I was doing this whole thing was just to show you that you can look in there, and I've used pi as a formula. You can use other formulas, simple addition, subtraction, whatever, and then you can reference other formula as well. So we'll stop there as a really useful trick for sketching. I found using formula is one of the best things about Fusion. It makes it so easy to work with. If you've got any questions, let me know. And if you've got any requests for anything that you think would be useful or you're not sure how to use, let me know as well.